Well, good morning again. It's a new week. Well, it is Tuesday, but it's a new week for a new video. Um, Pastor Apes continued our series on Philippines last Sunday. I think it's interesting that this is where you hear Paul's famous exhortation when he says, "Work out your salvation with fear and trembling." Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. He's saying, when I was with you, you have always obeyed, you have always worked with me, you have always trusted God. And now that I'm not with you, it is now your turn to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. I'm not with you, so you better watch out how you live. You better live properly so that the people around you can see that you're a Christian. And interesting, when he says work out your salvation with fear and trembling, Paul did not talk about so many different spiritual disciplines that we sort of know, or he doesn't say that manage your quiet time or think about you better go to church or things like that. Yes, those are all important, but he followed this commandment, work out your salvation, is followed closely by this one simple thing. He says, do anything without grumbling or disputing. Do anything without grumbling or disputing. Friends, sometimes we don't realize that when we grumble, well, you sort of nullify the reality of your salvation. So that's why Paul says, do anything without grumbling or disputing. And that is one of the best ways for you to work out your salvation, especially in this watching world. So perhaps this week, or maybe a week to come, in your cell group, do a grumbling check. A grumbling check this week. As in, take time in your group to perhaps take inventory. Each of you maybe write down, what are some things that you tend to grumble about. Is it traffic? Is it the queue? Is it the service in the supermarket? Is it the service in a whatever? Is it your children? Or is it about loving your wife? Or is it about respecting your husband? You grumble? Or is it about following your boss instruction? Or is it about doing chores? Or do you grumble when you study? Do you grumble a lot when you listen to your friends' problem? When your friends do a certain things, do you grumble? Do you complain? So think about that, because in every grumble, there is a lack of trust in God. In every grumble, then there is an area where you perhaps do not trust God fully. And this morning, as I drove to work, I listened to sermon in a podcast, and a pastor, Pastor Bill Hybels, he says this: friends, we have to live in the light of our permanent home. We have to live in light of our permanent home, knowing that our home is secure, our permanent home is secure. Then we will not grumble so much, we will not complain so much. And when Jesus obeyed God, he did that in light of what God has promised him. And Jesus obeyed even to death on the cross, and he did not grumble because he knew that's what he was supposed to do, and he knew what lies afterward. So we already know what lies afterwards, so that will help us not to grumble. But take time to take inventory about what are some of the things that you grumble anyway. Okay, so that's something that you might want to do this week. Well, it is the end of the year. Towards the end of the year, perhaps organize a combined activity with another group sometimes during the summer. Plan a Christmas activity together, perhaps. Make it missional. Don't just do it for your cell group members, but do it for the friends of your cell group members who are not yet Christians. Plan to invite your friends to your Christmas activities, or also to church Christmas events. Or plan for a retreat, or invite a pastor to come to speak, to encourage you or anything. Okay, and another thing is the welcoming ushering community roster. Thank you for your response. Please be as helpful as you can to serve the church. We are doing this not to serve me, but to serve the church, to serve the bigger body of Christ. Okay, and at the last Thanksgiving dinner, I did mention about the token of appreciation. They have finally arrived. It's a simple notebook, black, very nice, very sleek, with a CrossCulture logo at the bottom, and says, "Your labor in the Lord is not in vain," because I believe that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. So when we get around to see you, we'll hand this over to you, to each of you. Hopefully you'll get it sometime this Sunday. Okay, but have a great week. Until next week, I'll talk to you again. Bye.